The Thousand Year Blood War arc had struggled to nail the landing on several plot threads that were building up to the finale of Bleach. As we approached the conclusion of the story arc, there was a sense of unfulfilled potential lingering in the air. It was like a race car that was falling apart just shy of the finishing line. I feel like this is part of the reason why Kubo is so heavily involved with the anime adaptation of the final arc, as he is expanding upon and bringing to life several ideas that he didn't have time to include within the manga. Now, one aspect of the final arc which the manga had definitely fumbled on was Uryu's Schrift ability, the Antithesis. In this video, I'm going to be deep diving into everything that we know about the Antithesis ability from the manga, as well as some anime exclusive scenes. It's mind-boggling to think about how rich with untapped potential Uryu's Schrift ability is. We didn't really know much about the Antithesis until the very end of the manga, which left us feeling like Uryu was severely underutilized in a story arc about his own race, and even though the Antithesis was revealed, it had nowhere near enough screen time to satisfy all of our expectations. From the very little that we see of the Antithesis, what makes this ability truly fascinating? The Antithesis is more than just a formidable power. It plays a massive role within the Thousand Year Blood War arc, and it carries forward the themes of duality and contrast that are rich within the Bleach story. Be sure to stick around until the very end of this video, as I'll be explaining why the Antithesis was meant to have more of a bigger role within the story, and how Kubo is rectifying this within the anime. So join me as we dissect the mysterious ability of Uryu Ishida, and how the Antithesis ties to key characters like Yhwach and Jugram. I'm not going to just be delving into power levels or the outcomes of battles. We're going to be analysing the nuance of Kubo's unique way of telling a story. So without further delay, this is my complete breakdown and analysis of the Antithesis. The term antithesis carries a lot of weight to it, with the Oxford Dictionary defining it as a person or a thing that is the direct opposite of someone or something else. It is also defined as a rhetorical device used within writing or speech, which serves as a proposition that contrasts or reverses a previously mentioned proposition. The antithesis can also be used to describe when two opposites are introduced together for contrasting effect. All of these definitions suggest one major thing: the existence of an antithesis is inherently reliant on a contrasting value. For there to be an antithesis, there needs to be a pre-existing idea. I'm sure you students of Kubology are already racking your minds as to what this pre-existing idea could be. Over the course of the Thousand Year Blood War arc, we become familiar with the concept of unique bonds that exist between certain Quincy. This idea becomes very relevant when discussing the antithesis. So hear me out while I talk specifically about the bond that exists between Yhwach and Jugram. Understanding this relationship is critical in order to grasp the essence of the antithesis and its intended narrative significance. The bond between Yhwach and Jugram is more than just a emotional or a friendly tie. It resembles a cosmic connection that is akin to the relationship between the planets and the sun, or how the sun and the moon work in tandem in order to create specific phenomena on the earth. It's as if this bond was orchestrated by the universe itself. I'm glad that the anime has already started to build up the mystery of this bond, because it has profound and intriguing implications for understanding the antithesis. Yhwach and Jugram are represented as two sides of the same scale. They exist solely in order to help the function of the other. From how Yhwach introduces himself to Jugram during their first meeting, it implies that Yhwach is fully aware of this role and has been searching for someone like Jugram for a very long time so that they can perform it. Quite notably, Yhwach even claims that Jugram completes him, as this further highlights the deep connection that they share. There's a frustrating level of mystery to this relationship due to how little is actually revealed about it, so I'm going to try my best to make as much sense of it as possible. So going even further ahead of the flashback in chapter 632, during Uryu's battle against Jugram in chapter 659, we learn that one side effect of the bond between Jugram and Yhwach is that their powers switch with each other when Yhwach is asleep. So whether if Yhwach is awake or not becomes a critical aspect of their bond. This idea is brought up within episode 18 of the Thousand Year Blood War arc anime, which expands upon the nature of Yhwach's power. In summary, Yhwach has shared countless pieces of his own soul with others, so he faces a massive challenge in managing this vast network of power. Even for a being of his caliber, this is a very demanding task, which requires him to rest for a period of time, thus allowing him to rejuvenate his strength. Now, the sheer scale scale of this network that Yhwach has created is mind-boggling. This is where the need for another soul similar to Yhwach's in capacity and nature comes into play. Such a soul would temporarily shoulder the immense burden of power management, thus allowing Yhwach time to rejuvenate. It's noteworthy that Yhwach could only establish his formidable Quincy army the Sternritter after he had met with Hashwald. This implies that Yhwach engraving letters onto the souls of his soldiers via these individual Schrifts is more of a profound and taxing use of his power than just simply sharing fragments of his soul with others. So without Hashwald, Yhwach would struggle to maintain this network of Schrift abilities on his own. We can deduce that the Bleach universe had created Hashwald as a means to support Yhwach's existence. Now you might be wondering why we needed to talk about Yhwach and Hashwald before discussing Uryu's Antithesis ability. I like to answer that with a question. If the universe could create a perfect being who could support and facilitate Yhwach's power, what's stopping the Bleach universe from creating the very opposite of Yhwach, a being specifically designed to antagonize and counter Yhwach's power? Now this is where I believe Uryu Ishida and his Schrift ability, the Antithesis, enter the frame. Yhwach and Uryu are complete opposites on literally every single front. It's almost terrifying considering how literally everything Yhwach and Uryu do and experience within the story are the polar opposites of each other. In a Reddit thread by user Therevi, he goes over every single parallel between these two characters, and I highly recommend that you check this post out. It's evident that Kubo had crafted the story in such a way that Uryu's very being and even the experiences that he has had in his life had resulted in him being the antithesis of Yhwach, thus resulting in a deep multi-layered narrative, because as we journey through the 1000-year Blood War arc, it is heavily implied time and time again that there was something special about Uryu's character. Unfortunately, Kubo wasn't able to convey the true meaning of the antithesis and what it could actually do because of Bleach's rushed and abrupt ending. Despite this, Kubo left several hints in the story which ultimately help us to paint a picture as to the direction that he was heading towards. Let's turn our attention towards how Uryu acquires the antithesis ability. To unlock this power, Uryu had to take part in the ritual of drinking Yhwach's blood in order to acquire his own Schrift ability. It's interesting to note that this ritual isn't about bestowing new abilities, but it's more about awakening the dormant powers that already reside within the individual. Yhwach's blood acts as a catalyst, suggesting that the power that Uryu awakens was always a deep-rooted aspect of his own soul, thus clarifying that the antithesis wasn't just a power that was assigned to Uryu. Yhwach's choice of the letter A to represent Uryu's power appears to align perfectly with Uryu's inherent nature. It implies that while the specific letter is Yhwach's choice, the actual power resonates uniquely with the individual who receives it. Hence why the antithesis could have manifested under various different labels like C for counter, or O for observe, or R for reverse, but the essence of the power would still remain unchanged. Yhwach adds that Uryu possesses a power that could even supersede his own. The true extent of the antithesis remains a mystery until the final chapters of the manga. This is in chapter 679 during Uryu's battle against Hashwald. The battle unfolds with Uryu severely injured, and it's unclear whether if this is as a result of Hashwald's overwhelming strength or if it's a strategic move by Uryu. It's evident that Hashwald is holding back during this battle because he appears to be more focused on preventing Uryu from joining Ichigo in his battle against Yhwach. Now we are introduced to this fight with Uryu appearing to be heavily injured, because most of this battle, you guessed it, appears off screen. Uryu reveals the power of his Schrift as the antithesis allows him to reverse and exchange the outcome of events between two specific points. Utilizing this ability, Uryu transfers all of his injuries to Hashwald, simultaneously healing himself as well as inflicting damage onto his opponent. This moment, brief as it is, highlights the immense potential of the antithesis. Hashwald quickly recognizes that Uryu's power could be the one force that is capable of challenging Yhwach's the Almighty. We've established that the antithesis allows Uryu to reverse events that have occurred between two chosen points. In order to fully grasp what this entails, let's compare it to a similar ability within Bleach, which is the Almighty. Yhwach's Schrift ability is also a form of causality manipulation. Yhwach wielding the Almighty demonstrates the power to nullify future attacks before they even occur within the present. This draws a parallel with Uryu's antithesis, which operates on a similar principle but works retrospectively. It enables Uryu to undo the consequences of actions and attacks after they have taken place. For instance, if Uryu is harmed, then he can reverse the roles by transferring the injuries that he sustains to his opponent. Additionally, Yhwach's ability to bypass defenses, ensuring his attacks always land, is also able to be countered by Uryu's Antithesis. Uryu could theoretically use his power to reverse his opponent's defense into an offense, therefore guaranteeing that Uryu's attacks are 100% successful. In essence, the Antithesis is a strategic reversal of roles that can occur at any point in the heat of battle. The Almighty also showcases the ability to disintegrate objects before their creation. This is seen when Yhwach destroys Ichigo's true Bankai. Following this logic, Uryu's Antithesis could potentially reverse the destruction of an object by swapping out its damaged state with an intact one. This aspect of the Antithesis hints at the possibility of Uryu being able to restore Ichigo's true Bankai. In simple terms, reversing a broken state with something that is whole. We can probably imagine more basic ways that Uryu can use the Antithesis, like for example switching positions with someone else, in a manner that is similar to Sasuke's Heavenly Hand power, which allows him to do something similar. Uryu can also use the Antithesis to switch the positions of objects with each other, which would be a really cool way of disarming opponents and thus taking away any important possessions that are in the hands of an enemy. This is actually something that we see take place within the anime when Uryu uses the Antithesis to free Yhwach from Kiryo's cage of life. So I'm really glad that the anime has started to give us more ways that this unique Schrift ability can be utilized. And this one example is in line with some of the stuff that we're theorizing about the Antithesis. Now, there is another dimension of the Antithesis that we haven't delved into just yet, and it involves the conceptual way that this ability can be used. Imagine how ridiculous it would be if Uryu could just switch his physical strength with that of his opponent, or another stat like speed, or even switch powers with an enemy. What if things get really ridiculous with Uryu being able to reverse the existence of an enemy with something else, effectively erasing them from reality? The possibilities are endless when it comes to the Antithesis, and if Kubo and the anime team plan on expanding upon this power in the upcoming course of the anime, then they've really got their work cut out for them. So this brings me to the final point of the video, which is the glaring weakness of the Antithesis. The reality is that overwhelming Uryu with a sufficiently powerful attack before he can even activate the Antithesis is a very effective strategy to use against him. This weakness actually balances the insane potential of the Antithesis, but then again, Uryu has abilities like Ranso Tengai, which allows him to force his body to move even in situations where he is physically paralyzed. This of course doesn't mean anything if Uryu's head gets blown off immediately. Would Ranso Tengai allow him to activate the Antithesis even in such an extreme circumstance? The common theme is that there are several elements with this power that are still left up in the air, which leaves us eagerly anticipating what additions Kubo is going to make with the Antithesis for Core 3 and 4 of the anime. The Antithesis is an ability that was made specifically with the Almighty in mind, which suggests that it was purposefully created in order to serve as the perfect counter to the Almighty. Quite notably, Uryu and Hashwad are the highest ranking Quincy within Yhwach's army, with Hashwad effectively being Yhwach's right-hand man and Uryu being Yhwach's successor. With these high positions within his army, it reflects the contrasting elements of Yhwach's power. While Hashwad's power complements Yhwach's, Uryu's Schrift ability on the other hand can potentially destroy him. This dynamic forms a compelling power triangle. The Antithesis is the perfect counter to the Almighty, but at the same time it is weak against Hashwad's The Balance, which in turn is powerless against the Almighty's sheer force. This intricate interplay of strengths and vulnerabilities not only deepens the characters' relationships, but it also perfectly complements the narrative, and I'm hoping that the anime adaptation is going to be delving into these aspects in order to give fans a deeper understanding of Uryu's power, which unfortunately wasn't present within the manga. So what are your thoughts about the Antithesis? How do you think this Schrift ability should be used during the final portions of the 1000 Year Blood War arc? And what do you think about the prospect of Uryu retaining his Schrift abilities post the 1000 Year Blood War arc? How would a power like the Antithesis be used in the Bleach Hell arc? I'm really looking forward to the changes in Core 3 and Core 4, and I'm excited to hear all of your thoughts. What additions do you want them to make to expand upon Uryu's role, and what aspects of the Antithesis do you want to see more of? Has this video helped you to better understand this power? Be sure to continue the discussion and let me know all of your thoughts in the comments. And lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I cannot wait to see you in my next Bleach video. If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.